July 1st, 1992. I was late for the first time for our all-employee office meeting, and I pulled up in my parking spot, came up to these double doors that would be locked. I used to have to unlock each one of them to get through this private entrance to my office. And I was surprised because after unlocking the first one, I noticed that the second one was already unlocked, and standing there was someone I'd never met before. And he identified himself as an agent of the IRS criminal division. And first thing in my mind came was, this must be a joke. You know, I've never been late for this meeting before. We have the Indiana State Police, the county police, the city police, and even some other municipality law enforcement officers help us for the Auburn Labor Day weekend crowd control of estimated 300,000 people would come to the Labor Day weekend event in Auburn every year. And I just thought, this is a joke. They were playing a joke on me. And I saw, it actually came out of my mouth. I said, is this a joke? I thought maybe the employees had all gotten together. And he said, no, sir, and I really appreciate you remaining calm during this raid. And that word raid just sent chills up my spine. And I thought, what is going on? And I saw at the end of the hallway that all my employees were in the conference room, and there were other people there, and there were other people roaming the halls. So we sat at my desk, and I, partially because I hate to be controlled and partially because I saw in the movies, I said, hey, don't I get a phone call? He said, sure. So I called my uncle. We had just started to meet on a weekly basis, and I was learning a little bit about wisdom, a concept I had never really thought of before, a different way to measure the success of your life. And I told him what had happened. He said, I will be there in a few minutes. He was also an attorney. He learned in a matter of minutes once he arrived that we had been victim of a sting operation, and they thought we were money launderers. We weren't. I wouldn't even know how to figure that out, but for some reason they thought that we were. And I knew that if the dire straits that we were in economically were not going to break us, that the new attorney fees would. See, back then I had no idea how we were going to survive day to day. My life had gotten out of control, kind of a sand heart. My assets had just scattered into the wind, and I didn't know how we were going to make payroll on a weekly or every other week kind of basis. And I was struggling on how to survive. What had been a straight road up was now straight down. I went home that night, and I knelt by my bed. And it's funny, 18 years later, I was asking God the same question. What do you want me to do with my life? And I pictured myself in a pilot seat. And I said, you know, God, I don't even know what I'm saying, but I'm surrendering my heart, my desires, my life to you. And I'm going to surrender what I've held back, and that's my business. And ironically, now that it's worth nothing, I guess I'm more willing than ever to do that. But for the first time in my life, I was willing to admit that circumstances were beyond my control. And I pictured myself moving out of the pilot seat into the co-pilot seat. And I knew not to make a deal with God, and I pictured, Jesus going into that pilot seat. But I did say this. I said, if it's at all possible, I'd like to make my business a ministry. I don't know what I'm asking. I don't even know how this thing works. And I grew up going to church 3 times a week. I grew up in a family business, but I don't know how the two go together. And that was it. I said amen. And I felt different. Felt like a weight had been removed off my chest. Felt like maybe this could be the beginning of something mysterious and new. And that next day was the first step of doing life a whole different way, having a whole different journey. And it wasn't with a stone heart like I kind of grew up with, legalistic, and it wasn't with a sand heart, one I had done business with, kind of loose and licentious, but it was going to be with a clay heart, one that's soft, one that's loving, actually one that's humble, and malleable in the hands of the potter. And I was going to have a new target. Success wasn't going to be defined by money. It was going to be defined by wisdom. and I hopefully was going to be restored to authenticity.